What you doing, chicky bitty? I have a very small garden in my backyard, and I'm about to uncover it and show it to you. I find that we harvest out of this and we play in it, work in it, plant in it much more regularly than we do the front garden or the greenhouse. And the reason for that is just proximity. It's close to the house, it's easy to harvest out of, and when I'm thinking about planting something, all I have to do is go grab the seeds out of the garage and plant them. So the reason that we broadcast instead of planting in rows is that, for one thing, early in the season we have a lot of frost, and by packing them in there they protect each other from frost and they make more holes in the soil. The roots get into the soil, it allows more moisture to get into the soil than if I have them separately. The more air, the more sunlight that is on that potting soil, the more dried out the potting soil gets, and it can form a crust on the top that actually won't let water in. So we have just found that this is what works best for us. And early in the season, we just pull everything out that is small and we feed it to the rabbits as we're thinning, so none of it goes to waste. Okay, this is our row garden. I grow it because I like the skills involved. And I like having a backup garden, and I like being able to plant a larger volume of things. I don't weed this garden. I do everything I can to minimize the weeds without doing any weeding. And most of that is done with, once again, just planting a lot of seeds, because by the time the weeds come up, hopefully all of your seeds have kind of outcompeted the weeds, at least a little bit. And I try to keep my water out of my pathways now. I used to work so hard to get everything watered and use sprinklers and things like that, and now I find I don't want to be watering anything that I'm not going to be eating. A greenhouse is a wonderful tool, but it can be a very finicky tool. And again, the closer to the house you can get it, the better, because then you can go out and check on it. It's daylight that matters in the temperature that happens in your greenhouse. It's not necessarily the temperature outside. We can have 18 degrees below outside and be 70 degrees inside the greenhouse, because the sunlight comes into the plastic and the heat is retained until dark, until the sunlight goes away. And so in the winter you can have very, very fluctuating temperatures, huge fluctuations. And in the summer, if you don't have a good venting system on your greenhouse, it will just fry everything. We have a little cage door that lets our cats in, but not the geese. And it's just right here at the door. It's a height that the cats can jump over, but the geese can't push through it. So that lets the cats in to eat the mice, doesn't let the geese in to eat the roots of everything. We have all of the hotbeds covered, and the raised beds covered with bird netting, so that the cats can't get into the actual beds, because if the cats get into the beds when it's newly dug and it's beautiful, the cats will lay on it, take naps in it, or they'll poop in it because it's soft and they like to poop in soft things. Even in a greenhouse, you need a double layer protection if you have cold temperatures. So Kaya puts pillowcases or tubs over the top of all of our seed trays at night, because a single layer of protection of plastic, there's too much airspace still around your plants to keep them from freezing at night. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and there's the geese. All right, you need a basket and some pruners. If you're trying to cut it off with just your fingers, it has a tendency to tear the plant and it goes bad faster. The other problem is he pooping in that? No, don't touch him, don't touch him. So the reason we put bird netting on all of our beds is because otherwise the cats will come in and poop on it because it's soft and it's kind of like a kitty litter box. So we have at least one tub in here that the cat has been using as a litter box because we don't have it covered. Ugh. So, basket for the rabbits and some really good little hand trimmers, pruners. I'm going to go through and cut out anything that looks like it's not actually going to produce or that things are too close together. Now, if I'm going to be pulling and cutting for the family use, if it dries out it will wilt, which means it's not going to be so nice to use later. So, I prefer to cut just before I'm going to use it, but if I'm only going to make one trip out here a day, then I might just have to get it all at once. So, it's a little bit cold to be watering them right now. When you plant intensively, it means that if you have a loss to mice, then you don't, you still have a harvest. And let me show you. I wanted to show you how the bird netting works really quick. Alright, so you can see that the vegetables have pushed up on the netting. But before they sprouted, they did their job. They kept the cat out. The cat could come in and the cat could kill the mice, but the cat wasn't able, because of the netting, to get to the bed to poop in it. We only use well water on these beds because we know we're going to be eating them possibly raw, which is why we don't want the cats in there. In the row garden, it doesn't matter as much because generally it's just cooked food that we'll be having. But if I have a salad or something, I really don't want my cats pooping in there. Once it's like this, they won't disturb it. Alright, I need to get some stuff for bunnies. And I really wish I remembered what some of these things were. Watch out, kitty. Don't let me step on you. Alright, timing is everything when it comes to gardening. Timing and variety. Different varieties develop at different rates. They have different sweetness. They have different physical characteristics. If this is a shelling pea instead of a snow pea, it means that it needs longer to get tall, and then it needs longer to be able to bloom. So I'm not going to cut these off. They're doing a lot better than the one in the bed. They're lower to the ground, so the dirt itself underneath the bed is holding the moisture in for them. So I'm going to leave these alone. Once the day is bright and open, we leave the door at the end of the greenhouse fully open, and that's our ventilation system. We do have automatic fans that open and close according to temperature, but once we get into this time of year, if it's not freezing temperatures, we just open them because the flow through is important, and we want bees to come in and pollinate. I'm gonna do this by myself for a minute in case my battery dies, so thanks for tuning in. I'll try and get some cards in for some other videos you might like, and make sure you ask me questions. We'll talk to you later.